So if a guy doesn't know what they're going to want to do at all, and you have no idea, you're a bit lost, I recommend that you start with fitness, because I've seen it over and over again that the body can lead the mind in a way. So if you throw yourself into either losing the weight you need to lose or gaining the strength that you'd like to have, you're going to get this positive feedback cycle. Every time you walk through next to the mirror, you're going to see concrete evidence that you were able to take control of your circumstances.
Let's get past it today. I think we're going to do a great job. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Modern Man Podcast, where we connect men in pursuit of their potential. Join us as we embrace discomfort, cultivate community, and put wind in each other's sails. Now, if you're ready to take your personal and professional growth to the next level, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. And don't forget to check out the Noble Knights Mastermind Group, where you'll find the support, accountability, and mentorship you need to achieve your goals. Join us and become a part of a community of like-minded men on a mission to improve themselves and elevate their capacity for life. I'm excited to introduce, out of Sarasota, Florida, formerly out of Massachusetts, Jeff Higgins, co-owner of Fraternity of Excellence, landlord, angel, investor, trader, all around dope guy from what I could tell on social. Jeff, man, thanks for hopping on the show.
Ted, thank you for having me. It's amazing how much our interests align in what we're trying to do here. And I appreciate you having me on and looking forward to the conversation.
No, absolutely. And I love sharing all the titles, but I know that only tells the end of the story. It doesn't really tell the backstory or the ropes, the pulleys, the sweat, and all the tears that made you into who you are today. So I love making sure that I give an opportunity to the guest to introduce themselves in their own words to the audience really quick about who you are, what you do, really what's important to you. So Jeff, I'd love for you to take the microphone, take the floor, and address the audience.
Yeah. Where do I begin? So I've been an independent investor for about the last 18 years. I graduated school. I worked a corporate job very briefly, and I quickly knew that wasn't for me. I kind of had the idea when I was a little kid, school wasn't a great fit for me. But so I wanted to go out on my own. I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. Wasn't exactly sure what to do. And just to keep the story brief, I tried a few things and gravitated towards real estate. Real estate made sense to me. Dipped my toe in, it worked well. So I dipped my toe in a lot further. So for 18 years, I bought, managed, and acquired rental properties. I started a property management company briefly, but I've had my hands very deep in rental properties and rental property management. And that's what I've stuck with for the past 18 years. Invested in some other things along the way. But then most recently, I became the co-owner of another men's group. It sounds like it's pretty similar to yours. It's called the Fraternity of Excellence. And I spent a lot of time in that because I joined as a member 4 years ago. It helped me improve my life so drastically. I was doing well in my career, and I was doing okay in other areas of life, but I was not scratching the surface of my potential as a man, as a leader, influencing my community, leading my family as best I could. So I learned those skills in the fraternity. Luckily, I was offered a chance to partner with them. So now that's what I'm really focused on, is trying to spread the word and grow the fraternity.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's an honor to have you on the podcast and sharing and spreading that word, because kind of what we talked about really on the pre-call was, this is something that's needed, and we need to put this front and center. More men need communities like this, need to have that inspiration. And something you mentioned that I wanted to touch on, because I know there's a lot of guys listening right now who are like, I got to figure it out. I'm doing okay, right? I'm making good money. And you kind of said, you were doing okay. You were doing well in business. You're doing okay in other areas of life. Where was the, acknowledgement that there was room for improvement? Because I think sometimes the most dangerous thing for guys like us that are doing well is, good is the enemy of great, and we just get complacent. So what was that, that moment of realization like when you're like, man, I could do more?
So we don't know what we don't know, right? I knew a lot about real estate, but I didn't even know what I didn't know. And I've naturally always wanted to strive for more. I have this blissful dissatisfaction, people have said. I'm happy with where I'm at, but I want more. I want to be the best. And, I'm very aware of how finite life is. So I could listen to myself, and I knew that there were a couple things I was unsatisfied with. For one, I wanted to have the best marriage possible. I had a good marriage, but I wasn't satisfied. I wanted the best marriage possible. So I did a lot of research and learning, and long story short, there were a lot of things that I needed to do. It was never about the other, it was never about my wife. We got along fine, but I needed to step up my leadership in certain areas. And fitness wise, like when I joined the fraternity, so actually 5 years before I joined the fraternity, I got sober. I went deep into cardiovascular training and I did an Ironman even. I got really skinny. I joined the fraternity and then I realized, you know what? I didn't want to be fat, but I also don't want to be skinny. Like I want to put on some muscle. So just being around a bunch of guys, I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know that going down the road of strength training would benefit my mentality so much. And it all works together so well. Like I could not have gotten to this place in my life alone, thinking I knew it all. I needed other guys who were also striving for more to help me out so I could realize what I didn't know.
Yeah, no, I love that. Iron sharpening iron, right? And even just before this podcast, I just got out of the gym with a few buddies and we did a push-up pyramid. And you might be familiar with that, where you start at 1 and then your partner does 1, the other one does 1, you go around, they do 2, and you go all the way up to 10 or 15 and you go back down. And it sucks. Like it's not fun, right? And it's funny when we were like, oh, let's do a quick push-up pyramid to finish off our chest workout. We started laughing and the third buddy never did it before. And it's almost like those moments of, I guess, shared pain is also a moment of bonding, right? Like, it's like, man, we just went through something. And yeah, that physical fitness is an important thing, but it's also what you mentioned is like, I could not have gotten this far alone. It's, if I were by myself, I probably would have just gone up to 10 and gone back down, right? I might have just maybe gone up to 10 and not go back down. It's easy to kind of tap out when it's just you. And for those that maybe have the integrity, they have the discipline, they're like, oh no, I'm good. Sure. But I think it turns up a little bit more when you have other people around you. So I'd be interested to know, in terms of, what does community do for you as a man, where you mentioned, okay, you don't know what you don't know, but when things get hard, when life punches you in the face, which it's punched me in the face, and I've gotten old enough where I'm like, okay, I'm waiting for the next punch. I know it's going to come. But when things get hard, whether it be in business, relationships, life, fitness, how does a community and a group of men to pour into help you get through?
Sure. Yeah. I've taken plenty of punches over the years and bad things. And the main difference today is emotional regulation, really. I learned from a lot of people just how to be more stoic about things. Realizing an inner belief in myself allows me to handle these situations a lot better today. If you're talking about what I do in the moment, I could bring it to the community, but this comes up so much less frequently personally, just because I've learned how to deal with it myself. Now, I learned how to deal with it myself by engaging with the community for years. I learned these skills that I didn't have. I used to have anxiety. I used to have a lot of self-doubt, and I would panic. And I don't do those things today. And it's a result of years of learning about myself and processing issues. So today, as newer guys come in, we have a 911 channel. If a big event comes in, they freak out, and, we help them address it. But really, the lesson to take away from it is we make it through all these situations, even the really bad situations. You do come out the other end on it. So how did you make it through that situation? You need to realize that you are able to make it through those situations. And then the next time it comes up, just have a little more self-belief and a steadier hand, knowing that you'll find your way out the other side.
Yeah, no, I love that. I did a list on my phone not too long ago, and I wrote down the punches, and it was 2019, and I mentioned failed $30,000 investment, like money down the tubes, right? My wife leaves a good paying job, supports on me, COVID hits, pay cut, all these things that happen. My dad gets emergency surgery, cutting our honeymoon short. And I wrote that down because I was at a point in my life where I was like, man, when are these punches going to stop? And what was crazy was, like, I think I started a list with the intention of finding excuses as to why I wasn't where I wanted to be in life. And when I finished that list, Jeff, I was like, holy crap, I made it through all this. And it actually had the opposite, right? Where I was looking for an excuse as to why I wasn't where I wanted to be. I looked at that list and I was like, if I can dominate this, still buy a house, sell a house, get a new job, move to a new city, up my net worth through all these punches, I'm like, okay, I found that I'm resilient. And it's almost that track record of my resiliency that helped give me the confidence now for some of those things that can come into play moving forward. And I mentioned moving to a new city, and I wanted to touch on this because I saw it was pinned on your Twitter page, and it's my favorite poem, Rudyard Kipling "If" poem, and I just want to take a moment to acknowledge that poem because of how much it means to me. When I first started my career in TV, moving 750 miles away from home, my dad gave me a stack of papers, and on top of it was that "If" poem, and it's stuck with me ever since. I'm interested to know what it means to you, and what that significance of that poem means to how you operate as a man.
Yeah, it's a wonderful poem. I remember the first time I heard it, I think it was in 1994. I was 14 years old, and it just hit me. It was a manual to mental toughness, a manual how to take the punches and keep rolling. If you can lose it all on a game of pitch and toss. When I was a little kid, I thought, man, that's stupid. Why are you risking it all? And now I hear it differently. It's like, you lay it all out there in life. You give all of yourself. And if it doesn't work out, that's okay. You scratch yourself off and don't complain about it afterwards. You talked about the excuses, looking for excuses and why things happen to you. And if you take that mindset into things, you're not going to get where you want to go. If you take the self-ownership, you'll get to a different route, because if you believe you have control over your circumstances, over your well-being, over your happiness, you are now empowered to live the life you want to. If you're finger pointing, you never have a chance to change that. So the Kipling poem, I mean, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and which is more, you'll be a man, my son. Fill the unforgiving minute. You get out there and you do stuff. Don't be sitting down and pointing fingers and wondering what happened to you. Make it happen. You are in control of your life. So my favorite poem went over well on Twitter.
Yeah, no, it really did. And it's resonated with me. And it's been a poem that I've revisited many, many times through the years since my father first gave it to me. And it's really like at the end of a day, when I put my head on my pillow, exhausted, that feels good, man. Like, I know from the moment my feet hit the ground at 2:20 a.m. when my alarm goes off, no snooze button. And I went to work, came back, worked out, record these podcasts, spend time with my wife, love on my wife, spend time with the dog and all that. And then get ready for work the next day, do my evening routine. I put my head on the pillow. That feels good. I feel accomplished. I'm thankful for the effort that I put in, knowing that I've left it all out on the line that day.
100%. And yeah, I feel bad because I see a lot of guys getting distracted, and not realizing that is the point of life, to pursue your mission and build something for yourself. And it doesn't have to be this huge thing. You don't have to be the next Elon Musk. You just have to know what's important to you. Do you want to create a family that's well connected and a peaceful home where your kids are raised in a good environment? Well, then pour your effort into that instead of going and, you're having Zach on the show in a few weeks. He always talks about the person that goes to work and they give it all at work, and then they come home and they sit on the couch, and then that's all your family sees. So I think it's just important to be really intentional about what are you trying to build, and not to get distracted by the media, the news, the sports, the video games, whatever it is. Because like you just described, when you lay your head on the pillow at the end of the day, satisfaction will come from what you did to pursue your deliberate goals.
Yeah, no, absolutely. This is a perfect segue into my next question, because I want to address some of the guys that are listening here in terms of, what areas of life a man should focus on. Because I think there's so many guys that are lost. And I wrote a reflection the other day in my notes app because, it just popped into me, and I said, I see a lot of guys almost wishing and striving for freedom. And you mentioned going sober a few years back. I see so many guys who are struggling and wishing for freedom, not realizing that they're slaves to their vices. Mm. And they don't know how to get away from some of those vices. What areas of life do you think a man should focus on to maybe find some of that foundation and maybe some of that self-confidence to pursue their dreams, pursue their life? Because some of them don't even feel I guess they don't even feel the permission to do it.
I think the biggest problem is a lot of guys don't know what they want, and if you don't know what you want, if you have a roadmap to a destination, you can get there. But if you don't even know the destination, you can't even find a roadmap to get there. So you really need to know what is important to you. When you're looking back, when you're 70, 80 years old, what's going to matter to you? And then work backwards from there, figure out what it is you want. If you want a nice family, if you want to leave a legacy of your influence on children, then focus on building a family. If you want to get rich, you should focus on that. You can focus on multiple things at a time. It just should be what you want to accomplish. And that decision doesn't happen by accident. Try not to let other things influence what that decision is. It's a really personal thing. If you have no idea what it is, start with fitness. Get your aid the mind in a way. You walk by the mirror and see what you've accomplished. You start feeling better.
If I could have you repeat that one part where you said start with fitness. You froze a little bit on this side. I'll have my editor take that out, but you said start with fitness.
So if a guy doesn't know what they're going to want to do at all and you have no idea, you're a bit lost, I recommend that you start with fitness, because I've seen it over and over again that the body can lead the mind in a way. So if you throw yourself into either losing the weight you need to lose or gaining the strength that you'd like to have, you're going to get this positive feedback cycle. Every time you walk through next to the mirror, you're going to see concrete evidence that you were able to take control of your circumstances, and your world is going to change. You're going to feel better about yourself. And when you feel better about yourself, other people treat you better. So fitness is almost like the big hack to getting your mind right and moving forward. And it's not a hack, it's hard work, but it is an area that if you focus on, it pays you back more than you think you would. If you've never done it before, you'd be surprised if you commit to it, how good that's going to make you feel and how much other areas of your life will improve as a result.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I feel like fitness bleeds into almost everything else. And it's something as simple as being on vacation with my wife at the pool and an older gentleman walking across the pool to shake my hand. He's like, hey, man, you're out here looking good. And it's not like an ego thing, right? We're all out on vacation. We're enjoying ourselves. We're all indulging at the moment. But for someone to come in my relaxation and recognize, like, hey, I know the work you put in when you're not here. Right. And you could see other people who might not be putting in the same work, no disrespect to them, but you can't help but feel good when someone goes out of their way to compliment you on that. Kind of like wearing a new pair of shoes or a new shirt that someone says, oh, I like that shirt. You get this confidence about you, but imagine you didn't just buy the shirt for $20 off of Amazon. You actually put in the work and no one could give that to you or gift it to you. It's only a result that you get from doing the reps. You mentioned... Go ahead.
I just wanted to jump in a little more. Like, you're leading the way and you're setting a good example. And a lot of people have these limiting beliefs that things aren't possible. So I love it if someone starts talking to me about my state of fitness, and I can also tell them, I used to be 260 pounds. I used to be an alcoholic. I used to have these issues, but I was able to do it. So, and especially with children, like I love to coach youth sports in the community. And I take that role really seriously because I don't know who the kids have at home. I don't know who their male role models are. So I want to show them, like, you can live a good life. You can live a healthy life. You can stay strong and active. I'm 43 years old, but I'm still going to get in a foot race with them and stuff. So I want them to know that's possible. And that makes me feel good knowing that it's not just my words. I'm showing them this possibility.
Yeah, no, it's all about what's possible. And you talked about the foot race. It reminds me of my good friend Charles. He's got twin boys. They're D1 athletes now playing college football. And he always used to tell them, he's like, I want my boys to know they can't beat me until at least they're 18. And when the pandemic first hit a few years back, they were seniors, and obviously the school shut down. And we were out on a horse farm. It was me, him, and the twins, and they were working out with us. And it was amazing to see these two 18-year-old football players getting ready to go into college football, trying to keep up with us, right? And they're like, man, you guys are still so strong. And man, you guys are out here getting it. You mentioned leading by example, and my friend was a really, really good mentor for me on that, in terms of like, yeah, his kids look up to him for fitness. They look up to him for how to show up in their everyday lives. And one thing you mentioned about, those guys not knowing what they want or where they're going, right? And I forgot who said the quote, but to a man who doesn't know a destination, no wind is favorable, right? When you pick a destination, when you pick a direction, the world that we live in today doesn't even wait for the microwave to hit zero before opening the door and taking the food out, right? I call it a microwave society where we want everything instant. But I've been on this kind of trend lately, and I've been saying it like this in terms of having a macro vision with micro action, right? Or micro execution. Macro vision, micro execution, because the day you plant the seed is not the day you eat the fruit. how important is it for guys to understand that, like, hey, you could pick a direction, but you're not going to get there tomorrow, bro.
Yeah. It's amazing you said that, because the thing I probably say most often to guys in the fraternity is align your long-term vision with your short-term actions. That's what it always comes down to. And fortunately, I've always been a long-term thinker. It served me with real estate investing, planting a lot of seeds. And, especially with money, like get rich quick. Some guys can do it, but they're very much prone to losing it. But the get rich slow is much more dependable. Your probability of success goes way up. Your probability of keeping it goes way up. And, I take things back to money because that's what I know, but it does apply in a lot of other areas. If you're trying to build a strong foundation in your family and you try to really rush it, you're not going to build the strongest foundation. But if you're patient, little actions every day, while they're still aligned to your long-term vision, if you can take your short-term actions every single day and align them toward your long-term vision, it's amazing what can happen in the course of a couple of years, 5 years, a decade.
Yeah. Head down, keep crushing, get up, check the vision, check the compass, head down, keep crushing. I'm interested to know a little bit more about you, Jeff. What are, I guess, maybe some lessons in life you learned the hard way? Because I was a knucklehead growing up, and there's some times where I got to a certain point and I was like, man, I need to start listening to others, because I keep finding out things that people told me a while back. I could have saved some money in jail time if I would have just listened.
Yeah, I mean, we all have our own journeys. I guess if you want to know about me personally, I lost my mom when I was 6 years old, and I went to an all-boys school. And I had a couple of stepmothers, but I wasn't around any females. So it took me a long time to learn how to interact with females and how females worked. And I did things the wrong way a couple of times. It took me a long time. Now I live in a house where I have my wife and my daughter, and I'm surrounded by females. But learning that was probably my struggle in my 20s.
Yeah.
Fortunately, there's a lot of good information out there, and there's a lot of bad information out there. I've been good at discerning what the good information from the bad information is, coming back to learning about myself, learning what works, leaning back towards the good things. And I guess the moral of the story is today I have very, very good relationships with my wife, with my daughter. So it's a longer one. I'm not sure how to sum up in a podcast real quick, but I would say that was my biggest mental hurdle to overcome, because other things, and I mean, I mentioned I had an issue with alcohol. I drank too much. That was probably related to my childhood. Getting real honest with myself and looking myself in the mirror, I was able to know that there was an issue that needed to be faced. So I guess I didn't hide from it. I delayed it probably longer than I should. I was 34 when I stopped drinking alcohol. I probably knew by the time I was 25 that it would be a good idea to stop, but I did keep the awareness and was able to shut it off before I did any long-term damage to my life. Facing and not running from your problems, acknowledging things, not hiding behind your wins. I see a lot of people who have good careers and bad everything else. So then they just focus all on their careers. But if you really want to move forward in life, I use the inchworm example, in that an inchworm moves by moving up its backside and then moving forward, moving up its backside and moving forward. And that's how I see real progress made as a man, is when you stop hiding from your weaknesses, you address the weakness and you bring them up to another foundation. Then you can take your strengths and go even higher.
I love that, because we mentioned once on the podcast about, you have guys that are crushing it at work and they're always working late because they have a sense of respect and control, while at home it's chaos. So they avoid the home because they don't know how to control the household, or they're afraid of going home. So they're sticking to what makes them feel good, that comfort zone setup, right? Where if you don't address what's neglected, it's going to end up taking the whole house down, and it takes everything down.
Comfort kills. Comfort is a trap that a lot of men fall into. And when you seek the comfort, you should actually do the opposite. I actively look for the uncomfortable. Like, what do I not want to do? For a long time, it was appearing on podcasts or talking on social media. It was uncomfortable. I was hiding. I didn't want some boogeyman ramification of something that was going to happen to me, or I was afraid of looking stupid. I'm going to say something and I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah, of course you don't. You just started. So once you can get over the fear of looking stupid, you can move forward. There's a lot of fears. Getting over your fears, lean into the discomfort.
Yeah. Right now I'm leaning into the discomfort of sales. I used to always say, I'm not good at sales. I'm not at sales. I'm not at sales. Now, working with that no, right. The rejection and leaning into that more and reading books, reframing things, reshaping it, and really understanding how to make what's uncomfortable comfortable. Case in point, working in TV, I used to be a news anchor. And when they first offered me the job, I told them, I was like, in high school, I was terrified to read out loud, right? Like, reading out loud, I would read the paragraphs before my turn, and then the person in front of me would read 2 paragraphs, and the whole class would have to deal with me stumbling through to get to something. And then for 5-6 years, I was an anchor, and I was reading 4 or 5 hours a day in front of thousands and thousands of people. And that is now a skill that I had that I'm thankful that I acquired. But had I stayed comfortable, I would have never gotten that, would have never had the advancement in my career or the job opportunities that came afterwards. So
that's the perfect, that's the perfect story for people to hear. I mean, because you overcame a fear, it took you to being on TV and in front of people. Like, people need to hear that kind of stuff more. It's because once you see someone do it, like you did it, that's a concrete example. No one can argue with that. Like, that is a fact. I'm sure people knew you in school and saw you struggling reading, and now they see you on TV. Like, what are you afraid to do? Yeah.
Right. And actually the Emmy was when I was an anchor and I was reading and got an Emmy for it. So it's amazing when you lean into your discomfort, how far it can actually take you, where so many guys. And one of the questions I was going to ask was, what do you think it is that's holding guys back? And I'd imagine it's comfort, but if you have anything else that you think is holding guys back, I'd love to hear some of that insight as well.
Yeah, I mean, comfort, fear, and limiting beliefs. I mean, we think we are something, and we can't picture ourselves as being something different. Back when I was overweight, I wore an extra large shirt, and I never could have imagined that would not be my size. My dad was 300 pounds, my uncle was 300 pounds. That's just how we are. We're gonna be extra larges. Mm-hmm. And when I started buying a large, I'm like, oh, I wonder how long this will last until it reverts back. And I didn't realize, no, that's who I am. And that was under my control, is these limiting beliefs. And it happens about money. It happens about relationships. It happens, whatever from when you're a kid is like an anchor. And it doesn't have to be that way. There's a lot of guys out there, I mean, if you look at some of the huge businessmen in the world, they see reality as possibilities. And a lot of people see reality as, this small little box. So it's so much of this life goes on inside of your own head. So when you can open it up to possibility, the sky's the limit.
Yeah, sky's the limit, possibilities everywhere. My problem is, when you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. So you see all these opportunities. And for me, I had to learn to kind of scale back a little bit and stay focused, because when I first started getting into entrepreneurship, I was like, oh, I could do this, I could do that, I could do that. Did too much. I had to kind of scale it back and hone in on one. One foundation I want to talk about, because we talked about fitness, and something you reverted to also was money and finances. And I think it's very important for men to hone in on this, get it together. It's also something I continue to work on myself. When it comes to the financial aspect, whether it be through real estate investing, whether it be through normal investing, what would you advise someone who's listening who might want to get a hold of their finances, or might want to set themselves up financially for a prosperous future? What steps should somebody take initially, halfway, or even further down the line?
I guess it really depends on where you're starting. Like, if you're in a lot of consumer debt, that's different than if you have, disposable income that you can save. I would say that, you hear a lot of advice online and Twitter and whatnot, and it's all about just making more. And I'm the opposite of that. I really think you need to look at your personal spending and what's your monthly nut? What does it cost to get by every month? And most people I look at, it's got way more fluff in there than needs to be. And a lot of it, for me, I've never been a material guy. I see a lot of material spending as wasteful. And especially when you make the connection that you're exchanging it for freedom, financial freedom. As soon as you can get your investment income over your monthly nut, now you're financially free. Now you can decide to do whatever you want to do. If you love your job, that's great. Keep working it. If you don't love your job, now you can pursue another job. So if by keeping your expenses low, you can invest more, you will get to that financial freedom position quickly. If your spending is higher, it's going to take you much longer to create the investment income that will support your monthly spend. So I think a lot of people who are not yet financially free would benefit from looking at the spending equation as much as the income equation. Obviously, do both. I'm not saying don't make more money too, but really look at your expenditures, because I've seen spending take out significant wealth. I've seen it personally. I've seen it in stories. There's a great book about the Vanderbilts blowing through money, but reckless spending can take you out, despite what money Twitter wants to say. And they want to make fun of the latte factor. I'll make my coffees at home and I'll get rich. Guess what? There is something to that.
Yeah, there absolutely is. And I understand where, when we mention quote unquote the golden handcuffs, a lot of times it's for some people who've established a lifestyle. They have a mortgage and a car payment and certain luxuries to maintain. And, and they're like, okay, I could finance the pool in the back, and we got to redo the deck. I could finance that too. And, I could borrow it against the house. And it's like, okay, you're going to be paying that monthly. Whereas, you could be making interest on the money you have instead of paying interest on the money you spent. And that makes all the difference and pushes the tide one way or another. I'm curious, as we're coming towards the end of the episode, Jeff, what is your vision and your purpose as a man for your community, your family, the Fraternity of Excellence as well? And kind of being a leader in a lot of areas, I'm interested in to know the vision, the purpose, and goal is.
Yeah. So right now in my life, taken over as a co-owner of the Fraternity of Excellence, that has become my main professional mission, but also a very personal one. The way I see it is communities like the one you have and like the one I have, they are not well known that they even exist. People don't know that you can use these tools to completely level up your life. I've seen it over and over with guys in the fraternity where if they didn't come in, they would not have had the community to help them level up. So I don't know. I think far less than 1% of men even understand that there are these types of groups around. So my personal mission is to spread the word and kind of get the word out so that they understand not only do they exist, but it's a good thing to do it. There's nothing weak about, paying money to join a community that's going to help you get where you're going. A lot of men make the decision on who to be friends with, who to spend time with, by proximity, whoever's my neighbor, whoever's at this sports bar, whoever's whatever. But we know we are heavily influenced by the people we spend the most time with. So that should be a deliberate decision. And that's something I'm hoping to help people understand. It's because I deliberately sought out men that would help me grow versus stuck with my buddies who were not interested in growth. I'm still friends with them, but I spend my time with the people that are going to help me grow. So that is my main mission. And, obviously, making sure my kids have a good life and I guide them in the right direction, and they're both doing extremely well. And as a family, we're happier than we've ever been. So, that doesn't mean the game's over. We keep on working. We keep on making sure we're prioritizing each other, and keeping focused on what's important in life. I'm a simple guy. I just, I try to run my businesses and spend time with my family and help other men grow and keep growing myself.
Amen to that, brother. No, I love it. And what I love with the Fraternity of Excellence, which you guys say a lot, and I see Zach Smalls, he tweets it a lot. It's not just an online group. Mm-hmm. And Modern Man originally started off as a YouTube series, and then live events and live conferences, and then we went virtual when the pandemic hit. And what was great was having really the culmination of the panel and the men that I first kind of connected with was all through social. It was a DM to a business owner on Instagram that led to a coffee meetup that led to that business owner's video crew coming in to record the very first Modern Man, which led to the events, the pistol training classes that we've done, the date nights that we've had, and all these other conversations that we've been able to have, all because I sent a DM on Instagram to someone else who I looked up to and respected. So I love the fact that you're getting the word out there, because a lot of guys listening right now, whether it's the Modern Man with the Noble Knights group, whether it's the Fraternity of Excellence, get plugged in to some guys who are going to pressure you a little bit to be better. Because that's the other thing is when you talk about proximity, we make friends with, oh, okay, hey, we like the same sports team. We go to the sports bar, we have a couple beers, we cheer for our team, we go home, and we don't even talk about the problems we're having with our marriage or the issues we might be having at work. And we have these shallow relationships which leave us empty, which is why so many men feel so alone, because they don't have those deep, meaningful relationships that actually pressure them to be vulnerable and address the areas that are lacking in life. Because if I don't show you what's lacking, Jeff, you're never going to be able to call me out on my crap. And if you don't call me out on my crap, I'm never going to be pressured to improve it like the inchworm and pull the backside up. So I love that. Where can folks find you on Twitter, social, the Fraternity of Excellence, get connected with some of the work that you guys are doing and really all the tools that you're sharing, as you mentioned, how this could change men's lives? Where can folks get the links and all the info?
You can find me on Twitter at Jeffrey Higgins. I'm on Instagram at Jeff Hig. And we just created a free Facebook group called the Path to Excellence. So you can kind of get like a look inside the fraternity before you join. So Path to Excellence on Facebook, Jeff Hig on Instagram, Jeffrey Higgins on Twitter.
I love that. And I'll have those links in the show notes. Jeff, this has been amazing. Before we wrap up, one of the last questions I always ask on the podcast, and this is a little bit of a deeper one, but it's gotten some great, valuable answers out of it. And I have no doubt this one's going to be valuable as well. And it's simply, what is something that has happened to you or something that you've seen in the world that shapes the way you view the world as a man?
You have to give me some time on that, man. That's heavy.
It's everyone. Take all the time you need. I'm not afraid of dead space.
No, I see stuff happen every day. I see despair. I see people giving up. You hear about suicide. To narrow it down to one event is really, really tough. The thing that's coming to mind is the whole messaging of media in general and telling men, toxically masculine, stuff like that. That's coming to mind right now because I feel like the messaging of telling young boys, especially, that something's wrong with them because of natural things, that creates a problem. So you start suppressing yourself because you're told not to be yourself or that this part about you is bad. So I think rejecting external messaging, no matter who it's from, if it's from people if it's from society, if it's from the media, even if it's from your friends, just becoming a completely independent thinker and knowing where you want to go based on you and your principles and your ideals. Once you can tune out everything that doesn't make sense to you, that you don't believe in strongly, then you know where to go. Then you can get on the right path. That's your map. That's when you know what you want. And once you know what you want, you can build towards that end goal.
Yeah. Oh no, absolutely. I spent much of my high school career weak and suppressing my strength. And it wasn't until really after college that I found fitness, found the gym, found an expression for some of the energy and the aggression that I had, which only equaled more balance and level-headedness in my life. And I just remember thinking, I wish I would have known how to direct this energy earlier. I wish I would have known how to build positively earlier instead of just trying to bottle something up for so long and thinking something was wrong with me. So I appreciate you saying that because it's so true. And I know there's some guys that are listening, watching right now on YouTube who could resonate as well. Jeff Higgins, co-owner of the Fraternity of Excellence. I appreciate you being on the show, man. This has been hugely valuable. It's been great connecting with you. And I'm looking forward to connecting even more and engaging on Twitter, brother.
Absolutely. Thanks, Ted. It was great meeting you. Hope to do it live someday.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'm going to recap some of the gems that you left along the way because hugely valuable. And I know a lot of guys listening and even the ladies that listen to might be working out, cleaning while listening. Don't worry, I took the notes for you. We don't know what we don't know. Get yourself a community, get yourself some trusted brothers or even some trusted sisters that could look at your flank and let you know where you're slacking. I could not have gotten this to this point alone. Iron sharpens iron. Have a group with you. If you want to go fast, you can go alone. But if you want to go far, take a community with you. And we make it through these situations. How many hard times have you been through? How many punches have you made it past? And how many adversities have you withstood to get to here right now? If you're listening to this, you've made it through everything that you've been through. So you can pursue your mission, gain confidence, and understand that you are capable, you are resilient, and you could get to that next level. The body can lead the mind. For anybody who's familiar with, I've talked about cognitive behavioral therapy. The three things that drive us would be the emotions, the feelings, and our behaviors. And really, if I tell you to think about a pink elephant, boom, I've infiltrated your thoughts. If I remind you of a lost loved one or a sad moment or a happy moment, or you watch a movie, boom, I've infiltrated your emotions. What you truly have control over is your behavior. The body can lead the mind. And by working out, by finding out the power that you have to mold your own body, that will give you the confidence to mold other areas of your life and let it bleed everywhere. Face your problems, use the inchward method, as Jeff mentioned. Advance your weaknesses and then push the lead forward. Comfort kills. Search for that discomfort and don't let your limiting beliefs keep you in an identity that you don't want to be locked into. Kill the fluff, and of course, be an independent thinker through life. And as always, be sure to lean into a group like the Fraternity of Excellence or the Noble Knights to help you get to the next level. Guys, we appreciate you making it to the end. Thank you so much. If you got value from this, you already know what I'm going to ask. Hit the like button, subscribe button, share this with a friend that you know can get value from it. And of course, make sure you leave us a rating so we know how we're doing so we can improve for you guys that listen. As we always say at the end of the episode, guys, everybody wants the sunshine, but they don't want the rain. But you can't get the pleasure without first the pain. Let's grow. Let's hit Pat Smith today. I think we're going to do a great job.